Hey yo, it's your boy Asher, back for another chapter of how to live with yourself, a guide. My passion about ponies. Chapter 4, all together now. Why does that feel weird saying that? If you can't tell, my voice is better than yesterday. It's no longer 4 a.m. It's 8:20 p.m. Still, it's not late, but it's still nighttime. Where I do all my recordings at night, because I am a night owl. And also other reasons, but we're not getting into that because we're here to read. Gotta get on that reading grind, guys. I was looking over the recording of yesterday, and boy, did I miss a whole lot of words, like mispronouncing them. Well, whatever. It still made kind of sense what I was saying. This is my 4 a.m. brain did not think of that. But whatever. Well, let's do this. Theseus watched the otherworldly version of himself try to process everything they just told him. Besides having 6 arms and 4 eyes, Theseus observed that the other had sharp, pointed teeth and much redder complexion than his and Tommy's pinkish skin. In Theseus' opinion, the alien looked like he had bad sunburn all over his body. Theseus had so far found the Areni. These alien species are something else, okay? Arenio. We're just gonna say it's an Arenio. That was what the alien had called his species. Hard to read. The alien not using facial expressions or body language, Theseus recognized. Thankfully, his inflection and tone were normal, but they may have just been the translator. To be fair, he probably was showing plenty of signals. They just weren't ones Theseus knew. He'd have to keep an eye out for repetitive patterns. Maybe the way their host kept changing their positioning of his many arms wasn't random after all. So he continued to wait. The Aroni finally finished processing and began asking follow-up questions. "So, you're stuck here?" he asked first. The movement of his lips didn't match what Theseus heard, making the instantaneous translation obvious. "Only until we figure out how to get back," Theseus replied. "How long will that take?" Tommy asked. Tom shrugged. "We have no idea. We haven't even figured out where to start. If we're lucky, our parents figured it out first and come get us." "What are you going to do in the meantime?" Tommy asked. "We haven't had a chance to think that far," Theseus admitted. It was a good point, though. The circumstances had them stranded in an unknown place, and they didn't even speak the local language. "It's been a hectic day. I honestly have no clue. Do you have any suggestions? You live here, after all." "I guess you could stay here," Tommy suggested. "I mean, there aren't many other options for you, especially since planetary security is looking for you. Everyone's scared starless of humans. I wouldn't be surprised if you were shot on sight. I'm not going to kick you two out so you can get killed." "Really?" Tom looked surprised. "You'd do that?" "I mean, yeah," Tommy stated, as if it wasn't a huge deal. "You haven't done anything wrong. You don't deserve the Navasho? You're Am I missing something here? Navasho. What word does that sound like? Shit show? I don't know. You haven't done anything wrong. You don't deserve the Navasho you're dealing with. And I didn't know what it's like to not have anywhere to go. That's really nice of you, Lucia said gratefully. Team Tommy member number 3, Tom cheered. You need your own nickname, probably another teen name. What do you think about this? Does he look like a Tomothy to you? Theseus shook his head. Definitely not. Theodore, maybe? Tommy groaned. That's such a pretentious name. I should have known you'd suggest something like that. Being a prince and all. His eyes lit up. Hang on, Theo. How does that sound, Theo? Oh my gosh. Alright. Hang on, Theo. How does that sound, Theo? I guess that's okay. Agreed the newly christened Theo. Cool, said Tom. Now that we've sorted that, I'm curious why humans are feared here. Aren't there other aliens much scarier than us? It's not how scary you look, Theo began. It's how hard you are to kill. Humans are supposedly insanely adaptable. I mean, look at you, he pointed at Tom. You can't see anything in light, and yet, apparently you're able to take out a Larsoto guard with pinpoint accuracy. Blazing stars, that's terrifying. Top of that, humans just don't give up. They will fight through debilitating injuries and even lose limbs and survive. When I realized you two were humans, I was shocked that you hadn't torn my throat out as soon as I threatened you. Theseus wasn't sure how to respond to that. It wasn't wrong, exactly, but it felt weird to hear humans described like monsters in a storybook. Then why didn't you kick us out once you realized? He asked instead. As I said, you hadn't attacked me yet, even when I threatened you, Theo pointed out. That went against everything I thought I knew about humans. You also don't look anything like I thought humans did. I guess I didn't have the best source of information. Yeah, where did you learn about humans? Tom asked. It's supposedly common knowledge, Theo answered. There are a lot of these stories about humans winning in fights against what should be impossible odds. For example, there's a story about a smuggler kidnapping a mother and her baby. The mother managed to take down almost the entire ship using only improvised weapons and what she took off the crew. She used an escape pod and landed on a deserted nature preserve planet. The Galaxy Council itself decided to quarantine the planet instead of risking lives trying to capture her. The story goes that she and her child are still surviving there to this day. There are dozens of stories like that. The Council declared that the entire human solar system and a good chunk of space are a no-fly zone. Obviously, some smugglers and traffickers slip through, otherwise there wouldn't be stories at all. Well, there's your problem, Tom stated. Terrified humans fighting for their lives aren't going to be very polite. And that's all you gotta hear about humans. If I was being threatened by aliens, I would put up a fight too. But did I threaten you? But I did threaten you, Theo questioned. You held up a big stick, Theseus snorted. Wait a second. Moving around all the time is not helping. But I did threaten you, Theo questioned. You held out a big stick, Theseus snorted. Also, it was 2-on-1 if it came down to it. I'll have you know that I am very good with big sticks. I'll have you know that I am very good with a big stick, Theseus huffed. Plus, I have more arms than the two of you combined, and I've learned how to play dirty. I could have done some serious damage if I wanted to. He's got a point, Tom agreed. A big stick is a decent weapon. I've hit annoying people other than over the head with my cane more than once. It's very effective at shutting them up. Tom cocked his head and thought, speaking of weapons, would you know anything about this gun thing we picked up? We couldn't figure out how it worked earlier. I can take a look, Theo agreed. Theseus pulled the weapon out of his holster and placed it over, making sure to point the end that shot away from all of them. Theo looked over 4 separate eyes roaming over the object. I don't get my hands on a blaster often, but I think you managed to drain the battery pack. What were you doing with it? I spam buttons on it until it let out a giant blast that caused an explosion, Theseus offered. The blast's previous owner must have disabled the safety limits, Theo said. With a drained battery pack, there's no danger on it firing. You'll have to get a new pack if you want to use it. He passed it back. In the meantime, you could probably still use it to bluff your way out of a situation. Although hopefully by staying here, there won't be any danger of that. I'm gonna get cabin fever so fast, Theseus complained, reholstering the drained weapon. I don't do well being confined. With any luck, you won't be here long enough for it to matter, Tom reassured. We got here easy enough by accident. How hard can it be to accident ourselves back? No time like the present, I suppose, said Theo. I can't say I know anything about magic, but I'm good at fixing broken technology. Can I see your wrist thingy? At this point, I'd just be happy if you could get it off, Tom grumbled, letting Theo take his wrist in one of his hands. Theo hummed, using several of his other arms to pull a toolbox from underneath the table, and they were sitting and started digging through it. He pulled out several small tools and began fiddling with the cuff. If I can just get the cover off. With a final jerk of the tool, a panel popped off, and Theseus could see inside. It was as alien to him as the actual alien sitting at the table. But Theo seemed unperturbed. The first thing I noticed is how whoever made this put it together. The irony marked. Everything here is a bit haphazard. Definitely not streamlined. If I had to guess, I'd say this is a prototype or a proof of concept. He switched tools and began carefully pushing parts apart. You've got some interesting stuff in here. Very interesting, actually. I've only seen some of this stuff in diagrams in books. Sure, it looks different than what I'd expect, but a spatial disorder is spatial disorder, you know? I'll take your word for it, said Theseus, completely out of his depth. So am I, buddy, so am I. In fact, Theo continued, a lot of this stuff resembles parts of the teleporters you'd find on Galactic Council of fancy rich people ships. Enough so that I think that's exactly what this is supposed to be. A prototype personal teleporter. I think it counts as a bit more than a teleporter, Tom snorted. Again, prototype, Theo reiterated. The way they constructed this, I wouldn't be surprised if it malfunctioned. And that's how you ended up here. You're lucky you only ended up in a different dimension instead of something like having half of your getting teleported 3 feet to the left and bleed out. Teleportation is dangerous at best of times. Whoever made and intended to use this thing was an idiot. Tom had gone silent, slightly pale at this revelation. That's great. Can you get off me? I happen to like my organs where they are. Shouldn't be too hard, Theo reassured. Looks like a primitive auto-fitting circuit. Easy enough to short out if I... Theo brought up another one of his arms and jammed the metal tool into the wristband. Instantly, the band loosened to its original size, and Tom pulled his hand free, cheering, I'm free! Fuck yeah! I swear, I've been stuck. I'm never sticking my nose where it doesn't belong again. Theseus finally got a good look at Tom's wrist as the other boy waved it around in celebration. His removal attempt had rubbed it raw and even broken skin in some places. You should wrap that, he commented. There should be a first aid kit in the washing room, Theo offered. Some of the contents probably won't apply to you, but bandages are bandages, right? Tom paused, his celebration and staring. Tom paused his celebration and started poking the tender skin as if it had just remembered it was there. Tom paused his celebration and started poking at the tender skin as if he had just remembered it was there. Quit that, Theseus scolded. You're going to get some sort of alien infection. Let's find that kit. He headed to the room he assumed was the washing room, which was just a funny-looking alien bathroom. After all, a shower was a shower and a toilet was a toilet. He poked around the room until he found a large box and opened it to find an assortment of materials. Some familiar, some not. He pulled out what looked like a simple roll of bandages. Tom followed him, and a moment later, one hand on the wall. Find them? Yep, Theseus answered. You should rinse that out first. Of course, Tom nodded eagerly. Why words, guys? Why? Exaggeratedly? I think I got it. Okay. Of course, Tom nodded exaggeratedly. The blind guy will easily find and figure out how to operate this alien sink with no assistance whatsoever. Theseus snorted. Fair point. He stood up and yelled back the way they had come. Hey, Theo, how do we work the sink? Wave your hand above the faucet, came the response. You can use the towels in there, too. Thanks, Theseus called back. He turned to what he was pretty sure was the sink and waved his hand above what he was pretty sure was the faucet. Indeed, just as Theo had said, water began flowing from the tap. To Theseus, it just seemed like ordinary magic. His brain wanted to explain everything away from the hollow screen to the translator Tom was using for arcane as a spell and enchantments. But Theo had told him that this world, too, lacked magic. To say that figuring out how any of these things were possible without magic was confusing would be an understatement. Tom felt his way over to the sink and began rinsing out his small wounds. You said Theo looked the same age as us, right? As far as I can tell, yeah, Theseus answered. Why? He didn't mention any housemates when he offered to let us stay, Tom pointed out, finishing cleaning his wrist as Theseus handed him a towel. If he's our age, why is he living alone? Where are his parents? Theseus paused. He hadn't made that connection before. Maybe it's a cultural thing, moving out this early, he suggested. Or maybe we're misunderstanding his age because he's an alien. We could just ask. I guess, Tom shrugged.
I just don't want to be rude. He doesn't have to answer if he doesn't want to, Theseus pointed out. Hold out your wrist, I'll wrap it. Tom complied, and Theseus began carefully wrapping his near-doubled wrists. He worked in silence before cutting away the access bandages. When he was satisfied with the work and fastening it so it wouldn't unravel. Feel good? Tom nodded, thanks. He ran a hand over the bandage, so he left to head back to where Theo was. Theseus followed behind and spotted Theo cooking something in a pot. Humans are omnivores, right? Theo asked. You eat plants and meat? I mean, yeah, Tom answered uncertainly. Not all plants and meat, though. Some things are poisonous to us. Theseus snorted. Believe me, if half the things I've heard about humans are true, you could eat things that would kill me in minutes. As I said, it's very hard to kill a human. He turned to face them. Relax. There's nothing in the stew that most sentient that most species can't eat. If something as common as banana root was poisonous to humans, the whole galaxy would have heard about it. Fine, but if I die, I'm haunting your alien ass for eternity, Tom huffed. That's fair, Theo agreed, turning back to his cooking. So, Theo, Theseus began, we have a couple more questions. Shoot, Theo said. How old are you? Theseus asked. 16 galactic years, Theo answered. How does that translate to Earth years? Tom questioned. Theo paused. In thought for a moment. I honestly have no clue. Do you have some sort of reference I could go off of? Oh, my phone, Tom suddenly shouted before pulling a thin rectangle about the size of his hand from his pocket. I'm so stupid. I can't believe I forgot I had it on me. He paused. He pressed a button and the rectangle lit up. Call Dad, Tom told the phone. No signal detected, replied the rectangle. Tom groaned. Right? Different universe, no call signal. What is that? Theseus asked, curious. Oh, right. Oh, right. You're from the fucking medieval times or some shit, aren't you? Tom turned to him. Do you dress like you're from a British fairy too? A what? Theseus blinked. Never mind, Tom said. This is a cell phone. It allows me to send messages and talk to anyone who also has a phone. Unfortunately, it does not have connection nor the ability to send messages across universes. One thing it does have, though, is a clock. He pointed at one of the top corners where a small printed, it said 3:57 p.m. Theo leaned over in interest. What units of measurements are those? Minutes and hours? Tom answered. 60 minutes makes an hour, 24 hours makes a day, and 355 and a quarter days makes a year. Every time that number on the right changes, it marks another minute. Hold on, Theo pulled something from his pocket, unfolding it into a bigger, much fancier-looking rectangle, and fiddling with it. If I time how long a minute is for you, I can calculate how old I am in Earth years. Go for it, Tom said, handing over his phone. After Theo had the measurements he needed, he tapped at his rectangle for a while. Interesting, he finally said. Earth years and galactic years aren't too far apart. This says I'm about 13.357 Earth years. Ha, Tim grinned triumphantly. We're both months older than you. months? Theo questioned, handing Tom back his phone. 1/12 of a year. 1/12 of an Earth year, Tom explained as he tucked the device away. I'm 16 and 6 months. Izzy is 16 and 10, and you'd be about 16 and 4. Whatever, Theo grouched, turning back to Stu. It's not a huge difference. It's not, Theseus agreed, but that's not why we asked. Are you an adult for your species? Theo paused for a moment before answering. No. You're wondering why I live alone, aren't you? You don't have to tell us, Theseus assured, but you have to understand why we're curious. Theo turned back around to face them, but continued stirring the pot absent-mindedly with one of his hands. There's not much of a story, he admitted. I never knew my family. I was just left here as a child. I grew up on this planet, and I am hardly the first. This planet is on such a melting pot of species. This planet is such a melting pot of species that it's an easy dumping ground for the unwanted. He waved. There's not much of a story, he admitted. I never knew my family, and I was just left here as a child. I grew up on this planet. I'm hardly the first. This planet is such a melting pot of species that it's easy a dumping ground for the unwanted. He waved 3 of his arms as if to dispel their looks of concern. I'm fine, though. I've gotten used to taking care of myself, and I've built a decent life. Someday I'll save enough to leave this hunk of rock, and none of that will even matter. Tom seemed impressed. Sounds like you got it all figured out. Next to you and Mr. I know 10 languages. I feel like a dropout. I'm glad you're doing all right. Yeah, you're glad because I'm here to save your butts, Theo said humorously, turning back to the stew and beginning to ladle out portions. Theseus rolled his eyes but couldn't help but smile. He was glad that it was easy to get along with Theo and Tom. With the 3 of them working together, they'd be out of here in no time. Honestly, how hard could figuring out dimension travel even be? Pretty hard, I'll tell you that. Anytime somebody says how hard can that be, that means it's going to be hard. Anyway, so this was chapter 4 all together now. Yay. They're all together now. I realized midway through reading this, I'm still sick. It's funny because I've been sick every time making one of these videos. I don't know what it is. I think I'm cursed, guys. I'm cursed. Not really, but It's also just hard for me to read in general because of things. But well, that was chapter 4. See you guys in the next episode. Or chapter, whatever. Bye.